So that's the last session before Apérodoc tonight. And this session is dedicated to the recruitment process in industry. We talked about it in academia this afternoon. Now we are going to talk on the other side of the dark force, I would say, industry. And I've got the pleasure to welcome three great speakers from Spain, Denmark, and Switzerland. And you will have three different presentations. The first one will be, I would say, a generic presentation of what companies expect from PhDs and how they recruit. And then we will have the presentation of Novo Nordisk on generic also advice on how they recruit PhDs and for which kind of positions they recruit PhDs. And the last one will be on actually much more on job interviews. And a very, very specific interview Novartis is going to present at the end. So I would like to introduce you Eva first as a speaker.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here, and thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm going to talk from another perspective, although I will consider also the side of the PhDs. We are TDI, a consultancy firm in integral R&I management, research, technology development, and innovation. We accompany the projects from what we call the ideation stage, when the concept for the project is being built, and it has to be really focus on a specific need and to which it will give a unique solution and to build a concept which is sound and which is robust and which will be successful. Then we accompany the project through the development stage and in the end during exploitation of results while taking the results to societies and markets. I am the CEO, I am one of the founders of the company, and I've been working with R&I projects for more than 15 years. And along these years, many times we act as a link between the research area and the companies. And when I talk about the research area, I'm talking about both institutions and the individuals. I will explain you later on a little bit how we do that. So this is my personal purpose for this talk today is to shake you a bit. First, because it has been a long day already. And second, because it will be a long life ahead in an increasingly changing world. The paradigms, the employees-employers relationships that have been working for the last decades will not necessarily work for the future, and this is something that we have to stuck in our heads and start taking decisions towards this future. So I will sometimes be a little provocative just to create this shaking effect. Doesn't matter. So I will tell you a little about the process that we follow to prepare this presentation, the two perspectives that we were analyzing, mainly from the side of the employers, mainly focusing on high-tech SMEs, which are the main clients we work with, but also thinking or also looking at the perspective of the PhDs, how these two perspectives translate into a specific conclusion, some thoughts, some hints for a very complex issue anyway, and in the end some testimonials coming from some of our clients and some of the companies that participated in preparing this presentation. So what has been the process? We have been interviewing 16 companies directly thinking on preparing, just for preparing this presentation. So making questions, very specific questions related to the issues that were related to this event. All of them are innovative companies with active research and innovation projects. Most of them are high-level enterprises. Many are SMEs. some of them were social enterprises and some of them were big corporations. In principle, they have an average level of PhD hiring of around 30%, which means that between high-tech companies or innovative companies, PhDs do have an opportunities. It's a quite high percentage if we think of the specific skills that a PhD brings to a company. Only one of them did not hire PhDs and was not thinking about doing it, not even thinking about doing it. 60% of them have very strong social focus. One of them was a social company, but all of them share this social approach to their research and innovation, which is quite often in startups. 88% were SMEs, from which 70% were startups. But we also compare the results from this interview with the side of the PhDs. For the last 3 years, we are running what we call TDI Innovation School. It's a very small initiative, mainly focused on bridging PhDs with these high-tech companies. So they go through a selection process, and one of the steps is to have a personal interview. Of course, the interview is for a different purpose, but we get repeated messages that were valuable for this session. And you can also see here the sectors they come from. Normally, they come to us because they are looking for a future, and the sectors they belong to gives us a quite good overview of those scientific areas from which PhDs might be having more trouble in finding or in keeping a career in academia, and others don't suffer that much. And we analyze all our insights with the knowledge generated by EURACSES. We are one of the very few private entities belonging to the network. And through this, we have access to the results from a project which is called EURACSIN, which is also running some interviews to both employers and employees. It's a wider, let's say, target from different countries and different profiles of companies, and it gives good context to the results we were gathering. So these are more or less the answers we got from industry. Almost 60% of the companies that hire, or innovative companies that hire PhDs, they do it because of their scientific and technological knowledge. 60% of them. The rest look for other skills like hardworking, autonomy, management skills, perseverance. Most of them, half of them, do this hiring while cooperating with a university or a research institution. It is very normal to have this type of cooperation acting as a prescription for a company to hire PhDs. Most of them are planning to increase their team because they are high growth companies based on their innovations. And of course, they will hire more and more as they grow more and more. When asked if holding a PhD would be a requirement, 35% of them said yes. 65% said, not now, because I did that already. My first focus was on hiring this scientific and technological knowledge I really, really need for launching, for working on my innovation, finishing it, finish high-tech innovative product termination, and be able to launch into the markets. And now I have to focus on different type of profiles. But in the future, I will retake this again, because I will have to replace the PhDs that leave the company, and this is something that will be raised later also, and because I will need more. They part of them also have PhD students, not only people that have reached the PhD already. Normally, in this case, when working with PhD students, more than 70% of them are doing it with the support from a university. This is something that they really, really need to be able to host PhD students. But normally, they don't do it as for an industrial PhD. They are dividing their time between the university and the company, but not integrating the work they do at each of these institutions, because only much less did know what an industrial PhD is, but once you explain them, they all were very interested in it, of course, creating this synergy, this integration between what the researcher does at university and in the company is very, very good for them, but they all said, that would be great, but we would need help from the university to be able to manage this. We don't know how to go ahead, we don't know how to do it, we need help from the institution. They all offer training to the PhD employees. Most of them the same training that they offer to any other employee, mainly focused on their own technology, their own products, their own market, their own business, which is something that they need their employees to really know and to really focus into and to keep update as the strategy of the company evolves. They also, part of them also talked about product orientation, new product development techniques, business orientation to reinforce the PhD on those perspectives. And some of them stated that rather than training, their focus was on the PhDs gaining experience. And this is something that I will raise also later. But anyway, whatever training they do give to them, they all stress that it has to be very, very practical. Most of them, well, quite big group of them are high growth companies, which means that they will, well, all of them will grow above 20% annually for the coming 5 or 10 years. Some of them even harder. Of course, they are very small companies, some of them at this stage. When asked what were their priorities to leverage these growth rates, this growth potential, to take it to the maximum, financial support is the main need they have to face, either public or private. But when asked what was the second thing that they needed most, 50% of this chose high-skilled personnel as second priority. We also asked them how disruptive they thought they were. They value themselves, most of them above 5 in a 6 scale, so they are really, really high-tech, innovative, disruptive companies. And we asked which aspects in the company also made this disruptive potential higher, to see if they said something about the personnel, the fact whether they had PhDs on board or not. The truth is that they didn't say this as one of the key factors for disruptivity. Normally, disruptivity came from other sources, mainly technology scouting or their own internal sectorial know-how, but when trying to implement it, they seeked for PhDs. We also asked them, of course, the main barriers and the main drivers to hire PhDs. The main barrier almost all of them share is how to find them. They all told us, it is hard for us to find them. We don't know where they are. And then when we find them, it is hard for us to convince them to work in the private sector. Normally they find most of PhDs not interesting, not willing, unless they don't have any other choice in their life. And this is something I think you should really reconsider, because the opportunity is there and it's a very, very good opportunity. Once, if they manage to convince the PhD to enter, like this, Okay. If they manage to convince the PhD to enter the company, they find it hard to keep them engaged. Sometimes they stay in for 1 year or whatever, and if they find an opportunity in an academia or they find an opportunity somewhere else that is not demanding on the results orientation, the orientation to get results on a time-bound base, they leave. And this is maximized if try to convince them to work in an SME, in a small and medium enterprise. In principle, so if you look at the percentage, they get over and over this type of issues. In terms of drivers, the main driver is the prescription by somebody else, normally a research institution, but maybe also some other partners around them. This matches with the statistics gathered by Euraccess from the PhD perspective. It's exactly the PhDs that answer to this survey said exactly what the companies are feeling. PhDs are mostly not interested in working in companies unless they don't have another option. Many times because they don't know what the company will do or what will be their role in the company. Many times it's a matter of lack of knowledge of the research activity a company develops. So these are the two perspectives we were analyzing. On one side, we have the PhDs, and from our work with PhDs, we have divided them into groups. There are PhDs really looking for companies, which tell us, I want to see the results of my efforts coming to reality. This is why I want to jump to the private sector. And then we have another group which are forced to look for companies because they feel there is no other future for them. On the side of the company, we also differentiate very clearly in our day-to-day basis two different groups. Companies really looking for PhDs. They say we need ultra specialists. We need that ultra specialized scientific and technological knowledge. And companies encourage by third parties to look for PhDs when they realize that they are ultra skilled people. And this is something in RTDI we deeply believe. It's not only about ultra specialization, but also ultra skilled. In any case, they are both of them asking themselves, where do we find each other and who we are really? Mainly in relation to SMEs on the side of the PhDs. This is also backed up by the results obtained by Euraccess. So summarizing, there is a lack for effective matching between PhDs and companies, and I say effective. It's not only a matter of matching, but this matching has to be effective, which means that companies really looking for something and PhDs really looking for something, so their expectations match. Some sectors find it easier. Some sectors are very, very high demanded by companies, some scientific areas. Others have to play more the ultra skill phase of the coin rather than the ultra specialization phase of the coin. This is also this opens an opportunity for universities and research institutions to maybe develop, and this is an idea from a company, maybe develop new models for technology transfer by bridging PhDs and companies. To PhDs, open your minds to the coming future, Companies are already opening their minds, SMEs particularly, to the fact that they need the best on boards. And many times is, for this effective matching to happen, it is a matter of creating a bridge. I represent it here, is more a hook, something that really hooks into the company's mind why I should hire this person. And it is up to you to give them this hook. This is the idea we work into in RTDI Innovation School. We focus on PhDs. on their scientific and technological education, their personal skills, the personal skills they developed while working in the PhD, some personal skills that are common to most PhDs, not developed during the PhD, but something natural in them, and we give them knowledge, specific knowledge, and very, very important experience, which is what the companies value the most, in processes for the development of new technology-based products, tools, methods for result-oriented management and planning, and these are these hooks, these specific skills the companies can say, oh, this is the reason, this is why I'm hiring this person. We also teach them how to ask for funding, public support to the research projects, because many times this is the main reason why companies are hiring our PhDs, to say somehow. Then when they pull from this thread, they discover everything else, and they create very, very solid long-term relationships. And we do it practically, really working on real companies, on real projects, and with very practical methodologies. Through our school, little school, we have hosted already more than 60 students, 75% of them were PhDs, and more than 90% of them started a new career as an R&D and innovation manager. It's not just finding a post, they started a new career, which is different. This is also backed up by the conclusions from Euraccess. And just to finalize, some testimonials from, these are the companies that are participating into the survey, and they wanted to transmit several messages to you. Hiring PhD is a great opportunity to reinforce technological vision of a company and be able to implement it as long as the commercial strength of the company is clear. The added value PhDs can bring to innovative high-tech SMEs has just started. It is important to find the mechanisms to motivate them, and universities could consider this as a new way of transferring technology. For PhDs, taking the risk is worth it, dare to jump. They are waiting for you. That's a direct message. And well, ideally, the labor market will evolve, so these type of relationships are made easier. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Marianne Kjær, and I'm representing Novo Nordisk today. I'm going to talk to you about recruitment process in Novo Nordisk and what we can offer for you. But I have a small agenda here, just a second. I will tell you briefly about my background so that you know that I know what I'm talking about. And of course, give you a hint of Novo Nordisk and what we are, what kind of company we are. Also tell you a little bit about our PhD and postdoc opportunities and how to apply for a position with Novo Nordisk. Also, our recruitment process, how is that? Doesn't differ quite a lot from the academic world, but anyways. And also something about our development opportunities within Novo Nordisk. Briefly, I have more than 10 years of recruitment experience, and now in a position as recruitment partner, supporting CMC development in Novo Nordisk, and have been recruiting a broad landscape of positions through my career. So that's briefly about me. And of course, I wanted to maybe also shake you a little bit because it's so late in the day. And just out of curiosity, who knows Novo Nordisk? Some of you do. that's a good start, but maybe after today, more of you can say that you know Novo Nordisk. But Novo Nordisk is a Danish-founded company. We have more than 90 years experience in research and development within diabetes. And we're really proud about that. But after or kind of evolving from the diabetes knowledge that we have also developed products within hemophilia, growth disorders, and obesity. So that's what we do. And as you also can say from the fun facts here on the right side, we are a pretty large company. We employ 42,000 people globally, and we have 28 million patients using our products today, and we also produce half of the insulin which is produced worldwide. So just to tell you a little bit about our size, and also to give an insight into also the career possibilities that can be within such a great and large company. Our global presence, we are in more than 77 countries, and our products are marketed in 165 countries worldwide. And so we also have a lot of international possibilities. The diabetes pandemic and the journey that we are on and proud to be on, and what we do every day when we go to work, we are trying to help all those people suffering from diabetes. And as you can see, estimated in 2040, there will be a lot of million people that will probably suffer from diabetes. And so what we do every day, and what's in our culture and in our mindsets, is to help those people to live a better life. And of course, involved in diabetes are also a lot of costs and a lot of social costs also. So that's what we do every day, and what you also could be part of while coming to Novo Nordisk. So about PhD and postdocs opportunities, we have our STAR program, Science, Talent, Attraction and Recruitment program. And we offer both a 2-year postdoc fellowship program and also a 3-year co-finance PhD fellowship program. And talking about numbers, we have now approximately 70 fellows working as PhD or postdocs in Novo Nordisk. So that's quite a number also. And how to apply for those roles? We have a place in our homepage, novonordisk.com/ttp, where you can register as interested in Novo Nordisk and the possibilities there. That's one way of doing it. And PhDs at the moment are identified through our scientist network. And that's, of course, really narrow way to come in, but I will tell you a little bit about tricks, how to do that afterwards. Our postdocs will be filled through advertising on our homepage, just like regular positions, actually, and you can go on advertising for the jobs with a CV and a cover letter. So normal recruitment process, so to say. And some advice and tricks to get in contact with us. First of all, we are a pharmaceutical company, and of course the research that we do are aiming at developing products that we actually can go on selling on a market. So what you need to do is to kind of dig into what kind of scientific areas we are working within, and make yourself a project plan that match our R&D areas. And when you've done that, you can utilize your network, either through your university, or even maybe to make a contact directly with a Novo Nordisk scientist, to get a contact that way. And a way to do that could also be when you're reading your scientific papers. You might even identify some of our scientists who have written those papers, and so that way you have a name and a potential contact to go directly to if you want to make a project with Novo Nordisk and within that specific scientific area. You can also meet our R&D ambassadors at fairs. Unfortunately, I didn't bring any R&D people this time, but in the future you might meet them somewhere. And I'm sure they'll be really interested in talking to you guys. You can also read more about our STAR program at novonordisk.com/star. So that was a little bit about how you can do that. Of course, there might also be someone here who thinks that a role as research scientist or development scientist or going into phase 1 research within pharmaceutical industry or maybe within CMC development could be interesting. Could also be someone who's more interested in the kind of production processes and the later stages of research. Either way, you can have a look at our career possibilities on our homepage. The normal process is that you also, like in the academic world, send a CV and a cover letter and your academic papers as advised in the job ad. And also to a few comments there. Keep it short and simple and really relevant towards the job and show your motivation both in your CV and in cover letter. That's my best advice, I guess. And our aim is to evaluate your application and respond within 4 weeks of time, either if it is a positive one or maybe next time one. So that's how we do it. But if it's a positive one and we want to meet you, this is the recruitment process. First of all, we post a job ad online, and then we screen the incoming applications. We read them through, and we evaluate, and we kind of make a short list of candidates who we want to meet for a first interview. At the first interview, the primary thing is to meet and have the opportunity to kind of see each other in the eyes and get to know each other a little bit more with kind of experience, what experience you bring to the table, and we can tell a little bit more about the job and the company. So it's kind of both ways when talking about the match towards a job. And the first interview you will take kind of 45-60 minutes of your time. And after doing a couple of first interviews with a few candidates, we'll choose normally 1 to 2 candidates for a second round of interviews. And then we dig more kind of into the personal competences, because in our world it's really important that you fit into the culture and that you have the right motivation to kind of working together with us on our mission to help our patients. We have certain ethical standards that are really, really important to us. So that is really important. And in different jobs, different personal competences fit better than others. So that's what we discuss in a second interview. So we'll allow you to do a personality test beforehand. And we'll discuss that at the interview. And sometimes we also use a case allow you to present some kind of problem or project that you've done. So that could also be the case. And the second interview lasts for normally 60 to 90 minutes. And after that, we probably, hopefully, have a final last candidate who is a brilliant one, who matches the job and everybody's happy. And we do a reference check. So coming from the academia world, it could be a supervisor that we would like to talk to and hear a little bit about you. Coming from the more commercial world, industry, could be a former hiring manager or so. So that's the recruitment process, pretty much standard what we do there. But we make a lot of effort in this, and it's kind of a heavy process, but it's really important to us that you will be happy in the job, and of course that we will be happy with you guys in the job. So that's the aim of this process. Where are we on time? Shortly about development opportunities. If you're hired in Novo Nordisk, it doesn't matter if you're coming in as a master's degree, you have a PhD background, whatever you have. Coming into Novo Nordisk in a role, you'll be one of our employees, and all our employees have a hiring manager who is together with you responsible for your career development, meaning setting goals, meaning looking into your performance, meaning also discussing your future career within the company. So we normally say that we have kind of 3 tracks that you could go. One is to be even more specialized within a specific area as a specialist track. And then we have more a broad role. A generalist track could be kind of a cross-functional role between development, analytical development, or ground research. And we also have a management track for those with those kind of wishes for career. So, and within all these areas, we have really great training and training programs. Even if you want to be a project manager, a specialist, whatever you want to do, we have great possibilities of training. So, yes, that's about career development, briefly. And I guess that was it for today. So kind of short, but I don't have a booth out there, but if you have any questions, probably the big questions afterwards, but either ways, you are welcome to approach me and ask your questions if you want. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon, everybody. Could you hear me? So my name is Luca Rista, and I'm a scientist. I'm a chemist, so I'm coming from the other side of the fence. I work for Novartis since 12 years now. I've been involved throughout my careers in the recruitment of several scientists, doing the, let's say, the technical interview. I would like to focus my presentation on the behavioral-based interview, which is a technique we will see afterwards. But first of all, I would like to give you the framework. What's the purpose of human resources? We have heard our colleagues now. The main objective of the human resources department of every single company is to hire a great employee, to develop a great employee, and to retain a great employee. If the first process fails for whatever reasons, all the rest is becoming very, very difficult at least. The hiring of a, let's call it a bad hire, would have a major impact on the company, on costs in terms of recruiting, relocation, salary, training of the, but it might have an impact which is less tangible, but even worse. So affecting the team spirit, the motivation of the team. It also require time to spend on low performances and the management of low performance and the reputation of the company. So the interview process, which is the last part of the recruiting process, is becoming very, very important. And I would like to cut a long story short, and we arrive at the time where the candidate is invited in the company. So there are in reality many kinds of interviews, techniques, but mainly they can be divided into buckets. A first one, which is the unstructured interview, and the second one is more structured. In the first case, there are open questions like, tell me about your experience, about your CV. It's not very informative for the interviewer, but let the candidate to get at ease at the beginning of the interview, to break the ice, to start talking about himself. It might be useful also to get a bit of the technical skills of the candidate. The structured interview is much more informative for the interviewer, and the candidates are asked a series of predetermined questions about their behavior, essentially. And they can be subdivided in two parts. A situational interview, where the candidates are asked, how would you behave in a hypothetical situation? Or the more common interview is the behavioral interview. How the candidate behaved in a particular past situation. The base of this technique is in a single sentence. Past behavior is the best indicator of future performance. Experts in communication say that important messages should be repeated twice, so I will do it. Past behavior is the best indicator of future performances. This is the essence. So in the traditional interview, as we said, it's not very informative, and the candidate can really tell what the interviewer wants to hear, and sometimes even if it's not really the truth. While in the behavioral interview is much more probing for the interviewer, and is much more difficult for the candidate to sneak out. So it's really give the interviewer a sense of the behavior of the candidate. What does it mean? What are these sort of questions? Let's make some examples. In internet, you can find several of them, just a few of them. Tell me an example on how you worked effectively under pressure. Tell me last time you made a mistake. How did you handle it? What came out of it? How do you handle a challenge? Give an example. Tell me about a difficult conversation. Nobody wants to get difficult conversation, but sometimes at work we have to. How did you handle it? What was the result of it? Describe a decision you made that wasn't popular, and how you handled implementing it. What do you do if you disagree with someone at work? How do you manage the conflict in the workplace? Please, give me an example. The example is the key word. So usually the interview goes through a pattern. At the beginning, it's very open. Please give me an example about this situation. And then we go a little bit more in detail. What was your role? What did you want to accomplish? And then an action. What did you do? And why did you do exactly that action and not something else? Why did you take that approach? Finally, what did you accomplish? What did you learn? Would you do something different in a similar situation next time? And then there is a kind of summary to measure the results. So it's really giving you the opportunity to tell a story, very specific, which will give the interviewer a clear idea what will be your behavior in a similar situation in the future. So, how to prepare for a behavioral interview? Read carefully the job description. Second time, read carefully the job description. It's very important, because if the job description says about people skills, you will be inevitably asked about your experience in managing people, handling conflicts, working on a team. If the job description, for example, for a software engineer is more about organized, detail-oriented, you will be asked about past experiences in managing time, projects, details. So really read carefully the job description. Before going to the interview, Take your time to practice your stories. Pick up 6 to 8 examples of your past where you showed your behaviors. And practice with a friend or with a partner. When the partner doesn't understand you any longer, even the mirror would work. Get comfortable talking about your past behavior in the way that highlights your capabilities. It's not time to be modest. If you are shy, training is even more important. But here I would like to make a remark. Be careful not to overdo, because it might sometimes sound arrogant, and that can give a bad impression to the interviewer. So, but with a good training, you will find for sure the right balance, being positive, being confident, without being arrogant. There is a technique, when you are at an interview, there is a technique, it's called STAR. STAR, people love a lot the acronyms. STAR stands for Situation, Task, Action, Results. So follow this technique. Situation, describe the situation in which the event took place. The task, what was were asked to complete? What is the particular problem you want to solve? What was your role in that situation? Action, explain the action you took to solve the problem, to come out of the issue, to sort it out. Results, explain the results of your actions. What did you achieve? And in this case, I would suggest, if it's possible, use numbers. I contributed to increase the company sales by 12.1%. Sounds much better. I contributed to increase the company sales. Dot. Numbers gives you the credibility. When you are there, of course, everybody's nervous. Your future is at stake. So be quiet. Take your time. When you are asked about an example, drink a bit of water, pause, really select the right example, and then start to explain. Of course, as we said before, prepare ahead of time, but sometimes the example is asked is not really well prepared, but you know the technique already. In answering, follow the STAR technique. Situation, task, action, results. Be positive. A lot of behavioral questions are about problems, are about issues, are about conflicts. Okay, so it's easy to, it's almost natural to be negative. Oh, well, this didn't work because of. No, focus, after the beginning, tend to focus on what action you took and how did you solve the problem? What was the positive result out of it? Communicate confidence. So how do you deal with the interview stress? So a skilled interviewee will manage anxiety, improving the performance in the interview. That comes also with training and doing, unfortunately to say, a lot of interview. Consider what is available about the interviewer on the net, on social networks, especially on LinkedIn. You can find a lot of information. But be careful, especially for the younger generation. That applies also to you as an interviewee. So be careful of what you put online. Research the company and the position. You should be prepared. What are you looking for? So they will ask you, what do you know about the company? Practice possible responses before the interview. Listen carefully to the questions. Concentrate what to say. Take time, pause, reflect. There is no rush. Take your time. Communicate confidence. There are common mistakes which are done in the interview process, and I selected a few of them. Showing up late, this in Switzerland is almost a crime. But in other countries also so not very well. So if your car breaks or your train is on strike, which happens as far as I understand, call the interviewer and say, try to reschedule the meeting, or so don't let them wait in an empty room. Dressing inappropriately. Get some information about the dress code of the company before going there. It's better a bit more elegant than a bit less than the rest of the people are interviewing here. You. Poor mobile phone etiquette, that I wouldn't like to add anything. Not searching the company, you should know everything possible about the company. A lot of information now are on internet, so you can find a lot about them. Another mistake that sometimes happens is bad-mouthing your current or former employee. At a certain point, you will always be asked, why do you want to leave your current company and to join us? Try to focus on the positive, because I want new challenges, because I love the core competencies of this new company, because I follow the vision. But don't say, no, I don't like at all where I am now, because that sounds really, really, really bad. Have good questions about the position and about the company, about the future, and about the possibility to grow in that position. One suggestion to avoid to ask about salary range, vacation in the first interview round. This sounds that you are not really focusing on the job, but we can ask confirmation to our colleagues. Also boasting about your interview. Oh, I did a great interview. The process is not finished. Just wait 5 minutes. Let's take our time. And an important message, because this is a common mistake, not following up. Always, always, twice, a thank you note message to the interviewer to thank for his or her time and insights. It's also something you wish to say during the interview you didn't manage because you forgot, or because of the stress, because of it didn't happen, you didn't have the chance. Then this note gives you the chance to say it. It's also an opportunity to reiterate your interest for the company and for the job. Said that, keep calm and good luck.
Now we are waiting for your questions.
Hi, it's working or? Okay, so thank you for your talks. I was just wondering, which kind of position do you offer to a PhD student, for example, as a scientist or the...
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. Jobs offered for a PhD would, for instance, be a scientist role. Research scientist or a development scientist could either be in the early stages of research, could also be in the later stages of research. But some of our positions, we require either a master's degree or a PhD. Doesn't necessarily always have to be a PhD. Some of our positions, we require a PhD. So depending on the job and the position, that varies a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, for PhDs, let's say the postdoc would be important for getting a job in the company. The postdoc could be done also within the company. Is it? Yeah, within the company there is a program called Presidential Postdoc. There are, as a scientist within the Novartis, we are asked to set up some projects which can be published, and we are going then to select a postdoc program. The postdoc program lasts 3 years and is very effective. And the positions are advertised in the Novartis career website. In general, in all Germanic world, including Basel, but also Switzerland, Germany, Austria, the PhD is a key to get position on on the laboratory head level. It it's a kind of glass wall. So if you have the PhD, you can aspire to a certain type of positions. If you don't have the PhD, is more the technical scientific part. That in research, in the development or in pharma, this might be different.
From my general perspective, I would say that it depends a lot on the reasons why the company is hiring the PhD. If they are hiring the PhD because of their scientific and technological knowledge, then they will work mostly in research, either early stage or final stage research related to their scientific and technological area. If it is a company looking for a PhD because of their personal skills, they will be working more on project management or product management at some stage. It will be more on the management side of things.
Well, I have a question here. I'm Mary from the University of Copenhagen. Thank you so much for your great presentations. My question is to Luca, because I think what you said was very hands-on, very practical. My only question is regarding references. Could you talk a bit about that in terms of, you know, when you have found the candidate, what is the procedure around references, tips around that? Because I think that would be something that would interest the crowd.
Yes, of course, we check the references, and I would say in the chemistry world, it's a small world. So mostly the references we get, we know the people personally. So it's very easy to pick up the phone. It's better. Pick up the phone and give a call. Yes, especially to a certain level, is done regularly.
So thank you for these nice talks, a bit different from scientific talks I'm used to as a PhD student. Okay, so the first talk was kind of teasing PhD student, right? Saying that usually a private company are looking for PhD student and it's not the other way around. But at the same time, the survey was done in small and medium company. I was wondering if, like, for big pharma as Novo Nordisk and Novartis, is the same actually. Because from our side, we can actually say the same thing. We are always looking for something, and we can never find a position. So I was wondering, how is for also big pharma?
We are looking for PhDs, definitely. But as I also said before, not all our roles demands a PhD. Some only demands a master's, and a PhD would be a great plus. While other roles, also like you said, in kind of early stage research, more creative research, we are definitely looking for PhD background. So I think we are looking for PhDs, definitely, yes.
Do you have any difficulties to find them? This is my question.
In some areas, yes, but normally not so much. Actually, we also have a lot of great network with a lot of institutes. So that way around, also we have some possibilities there to make contacts with PhD students. So yeah, it's not a great problem.
So this is more a practical question. When you stay in academia, and you're looking for a new position, like a postdoc or a second postdoc, you can actually start looking for it much earlier, like 6 months before, 8 months before. Instead, if you want to go from academia to a company, how long before you should apply to position? How long the company can wait for the postdoc to finish the work and join the company?
Oh,
Okay, if you have time. it depends on the position. The answer, it depends, is always works. It depends on the position and the person we would like. If it's a really specialized person that is the only one in the world that wants who is able to do that job, we wait for long. Of course, a few months are given for granted, also because we have to consider a relocation. If the person has also a family, it's not easy to move in another country. There is also a bureaucratic part, it's work permits, and so a few months are given. More, I would say, it's more difficult.
Yeah, and I totally agree. I mean, even when we're looking for postdoc, we want to have kind of the right person on the right projects, and sometimes it's worth a while of waiting to make that happen. So yeah, it definitely depends on the candidate and the process and the project.
Hi. So this is a question for Eva. I was really impressed. Sorry, I have to have skills in microphone speaking. So Eva, I thought your talk was great, and I was really interested in the results of the survey that you ran, and I have to admit to having photographed most of your slides. And my question to you is, because this information is very interesting, not only for PhD students, but also for those of us who support PhD students and postdocs and try to convince them that they have all these skills and that they are interesting for employers. Have you published this work more widely, or are you considering publishing it somewhere like Nature Jobs, or somewhere that everyone's going to be able to see it? Because I think it's really useful and interesting.
I don't know if the presentations will be made public. For sure, that will be one way, very direct to you that are here. But in principle, yeah, we are planning to publish results as a series of articles in our blog. We don't have that much time for scientific publications, especially those that take a lot of time. But a blog is already stressful enough, but feasible. You have, well, if you deliver the presentations, my email is there, and I can keep you updated on whatever we publish or whatever else you want to know.
Hello, I would like to ask some questions to Lucas Artista. Thank you for your great presentation. I think that you gave us very helpful information about how to prepare ourselves before interview. But I would like to ask you what kind of questions I should ask you. I should ask a manager during interview or at the end of interview. If I would like to ask you if it's possible to do some questions to the manager at the end of interview about your job and something like that. Thank you very much.
I mean, in my opinion, the most useful information is you would like to get in a team. So how is the team working? How is organized? Of course, you cannot ask about the single people, but how is organized? Yes. How is going to work? What is the development? What is the time span of a project? These sort of questions are very useful, and they vary from company to company, from project to project. So it's also very informative. It's not a standard answer. So it could be very informative, and it shows that you have a great interest in this position.
Yeah, I also agree on that, and I mean, asking question also shows interest and curiosity towards the job and the company. And the most important thing is that you go away from the interviews with a feeling that you are able to make a decision on a good grounds. So questions relating to what you're interested in, I think you should reveal them, but of course with some relevance to the subject. Yeah. Any more questions?
Hi, Hi, thank you for the interesting talks. I just was wondering, because it was already mentioned, that social media has an impact on recruitment. And I know that some companies already had and use talent hunters and have this talent acquisition department within. They don't post the open jobs that they have. They go and tell talent hunters, like, we are looking for someone with this skill set that we want to match with for what we are looking for. So I was wondering, how can we, PhD students, postdocs, make ourselves visible so then we can be catched by these companies or talent hunters or managers? Thank you.
I think there are two parts of your questions. If we can split it up in two things. The one thing is talent hunters. They cost a lot of money. They're really expensive. So most of the time we would like to avoid going to talent hunters. So we would most of the times actually post the jobs before going to talent hunters. That's at least the way we do it. Also because we have a great internal landscape that we want to also give the opportunity of applying internally to move their career internally in the company. So that's one thing. And the other thing, to make yourself attracted on LinkedIn, I think you can take some of the advice talking about CVs as well. It's your official online CV that you post there. So of course you can't make it directly to one company, but at least you can tell the things in there that are important towards what you want to accomplish going on to your career. So that's my best advice. Think it as a CV and think it as a unique way of selling yourself, and maybe also have a colleague or a friend or someone looking to it and see if it's relevant.
Yeah, yes, I don't have to add a lot. What I would suggest furthermore is network, whatever is possible, congress, meetings, science cafe, whatever. Because you might get an insight about the position. I would say that the vast majority of the position in the big companies are anyway advertised. It's just the super top that anyway do not interest us, or we are not involved, that might go through the talent scout system. So the great majority is advertised on the career web page. Of course, if you have an insight what the company really needs, because there is also a referral program within Novartis. At least it's a referral program. If I present your CV and you are actually hired, then I get some extra bonus for that. So there is an incentive to find people outside. And so the networking for this reason is very important. Of course, can be offline through meetings, etc., but can be online. LinkedIn in this sense, as Marianne was saying, is a great tool.
Maybe a last question. Okay, so if there is no more question, thanks again for the three speakers for this discussion on recruitment process industry. Thank you very much for coming and telling us your secrets of recruiters. Thank you very much for coming. And we do a short break until the speakers for the Apérodoc are coming. So 10 minutes break, and we start again here for the last panel discussion. So that would be testimonials of PhDs having left academia and who have experimented mobility in Europe. So see you in 10 minutes here. Thank you.